Great. So we are about to start the first workshop, and I'm very excited about this. I hope you too. As you have already noticed in the program, we have very intensive agenda. We're going to start with the invited speakers presentations. After that, we will invite the two groups that has chosen to work on the linguistics topic field to present their idea and focus on research. After that, we will have discussion in two groups. Then we are going to separate into rooms, breakout rooms in Zoom meeting. And this is more or less what we are going to do today. If Preslav is already joined the Zoom, I can't really see who is here.
I'm here. I have joined a walk ago.
Preslav, good to see you.
Hello.
So, shall we start with you? You ready? First, I just want to make a short presentation, of course, before. Dr. Preslav Nakov is from Bulgaria, but now he is based in Qatar. He is principal scientist at the Qatar Computing Research Institute, where he leads the Tambih Mega Project that is developed in collaboration with MIT. He received his PhD degree in computer science from the University of California at Berkeley, supported by a Fulbright grant. Preslav Nakov is president of ACL CIG Lex, secretary of ACL CIG Slav, and a member of EACL advisory board. He is also a member of the editorial board of a number of journals, including Computational Linguistics, TLC, CLNL, etc. We're very happy to have you today with us. We know you have very busy schedule, but thank you for joining this first workshop. And now I'm pleased to give you the floor to present our fellows your presentation.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation. So let me try to share my screen. Okay. Do you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I'll try to cover several things. So I'm going to talk about the Tambih Mega project that I'm leading, but also also what is enabling those technologies these days, some ethical concerns, and some possible solutions. So let me start. I mean, it was the program was saying that I should present myself. Yeah, I mean, what I had been working on, I was working on biomedical text processing when I was in Berkeley, then switched to machine translation. These days I have been doing machine translation, question answering, but more recently really focusing on fact-checking, fake news, disinformation, propaganda, and media bias. And a number of other things like lexical semantics, relation extractions, chatbots, web as a corpus, sentiment analysis, and so on. So I'm leading the Tambih Mega project, which aims to limit the impact of fake news, propaganda, and media bias by making users aware of what they're reading. And the main goal is to promote media literacy and critical thinking. And that's a project that we develop in cooperation with MIT, but also there are other collaborators and quite a few actually from Sofia University, both students and faculty. So what is interesting about our project? I mean, I'm probably going to, in the interest of time, show you slides instead of the two in action. But I mean, I don't know if there's time, if there's interest at some point, I can also show you that. So it's a disinformation-aware news aggregator. Think of something like Google News, but actually it shows you what you're reading. And then it shows you media profiles so that you can see, I like to say that you can detect the fake news before it was even written. We also do fine-grained propaganda analysis, which is great for raising awareness. And we're building tools that are good for fact-checkers, telling them what is interesting to fact-check and whether something was previously fact-checked. And those are things that the fact-checkers care a lot about. So, okay, let me briefly tell you about the news aggregator. So it's profiling. One thing that we are doing, we are profiling entire news outlets. So instead of saying this claim is fake or this article is fake, we're actually trying to see, okay, can I trust Breitbart? Can I trust CNN, right? Can I trust Deutsche Welle? Things like that, right? And what we do is we're looking into what they write in their articles, what they write in their social media profiles. Also, if they have YouTube channels, to analyze those, not only what they say, but how they say it. Is there a lot of emotions there? Also, what is written about them in Wikipedia and how people react to what they have written, like in social media, in Twitter and Facebook and so on and so forth. And we are putting all this together to understand their bias and also their factuality in general, and also with respect to specific topics. And yeah, it's a complex model. The important thing is that there are transformers here, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. And that's kind of the interface. So as you're reading, I can click here and can get additional information. It also tells me whether if something is propagandistic. And actually, this is a profile for a certain medium. We tell whether it's central or hyper-partisan, whether there is propaganda. Kind of here is about BBC. Yeah. And the framing of reporting. So anything that has different aspects. So for example, let's say COVID-19 has a health aspect, but also political aspect, also legal aspect, economic aspect, and so on and so forth. And this is the factuality that we are doing. I mean, this is something that we are building for every single medium. And the bias, left, center, right, on a 3-point scale, on a 7-point scale. And also the bias of the audience, what kind of people are reading certain kind of medium. And also we are monitoring the bias with respect to specific topics. So for example, here BBC, yeah, so you see that it's kind of somehow left bias, pro-immigration, concerned about climate change and COVID-19. And as I said, we are also profiling entire YouTube channels. And of course, we are doing also fact-checking of claims, where kind of we're looking into how people react in social media, you know, where they agree, disagree with a claim over time, and who follows whom, and links to which media they are, and so on and so forth. Now, yeah, and we have also analysis of all these things. And something else that is very interesting is, again, kind of unique about what we are doing is we are looking into the use of specific propaganda techniques. Instead of telling you this propaganda and this is not, we are actually showing you. So for example, here, this is the analysis of our tool. We are looking into 18 techniques. Half of them are certain kind of logical fallacies, things like, I don't know, let's say strawman and whataboutism, red herring. And the other half are certain kind of emotional manipulations, things like appeal to fear, to prejudices, flag waving, which is patriotic feelings and stuff. So here you have examples. You pursue any aggressor, that's appeal to fear. Or latest outrageous attempts, that's worried language. Or here, Congress will do our job to uphold the Constitution, defend our national security, and protect the American people. This appeal to patriotic feelings, that's flag waving, right? So, that's very cool. We have this, and this has great potential for media literacy, kind of to tell people how they are being manipulated. We have an interactive tool. I don't have the time to show you. We have APIs and so on. We have for the media profiles, we have browser plugins. So kind of as I'm browsing something, I can click and I can get some idea about where this is a propagandistic tool and what is its bias and so on and so forth. And what is the framing there. And yeah, we have also some Twitter bot where you can kind of ask it whether something was previously fact-checked. We have another tool that kind of tells you what are the most interesting claims to fact-check, let's say in a political debate. It works in English, works in Arabic. And we have APIs so that you can call all these things that I have shown you, you can call them programmatically. We have applied this to media. So we have a collaboration project with Al Jazeera, RTR, one in the Associated Press, and some other partners, and they were interested in self-monitoring. So for example, if I upload there a video, does it contain known false claims, or is it kind of biased in left and right, because kind of they want to know whether they are biased or not. In Ireland, that's actually a legal requirement at election time. And other things that we have been doing, again, kind of inspired by journalists, is to detect, yeah, kind of whether something was previously fact-checked. That's an interesting and important research direction also for fact-checkers, and it's something that allows us to, I mean, can potentially revolutionize journalism because it can put the journalists, kind of the politicians on the spot in real time. And we have been doing things in COVID-19, and we are kind of taking the perspective of journalists, but also kind of fact checkers, social media platforms, policymakers, and society as a whole. And it's a very rich annotation schema. We are looking not only whether something is false or not, but also other things like spreading panic, xenophobia, racism, blaming the authorities, and stuff like that. And again, we have demo for this that I don't have time to show you. So how many minutes do I have left?
You have 10 minutes more.
Oh, really? Okay, then I was kind of going super fast. That's good. Okay, so maybe I can show you something in action. Okay,
yes,
so all this is actually enabled by large-scale pre-trained models, and this is something that here I have. So basically, what I have shown you are things that are actually built on something which is BERT small, which has about 110 million parameters, and by now you see that there's something that is 175 billion parameters. Is GPT-3 that came kind of about a year ago, and now you have also WuDAO, which is just 4 days ago. It has 1.75 trillion parameters. I cannot even show you in this graph, right? And it's crazy. But actually, the larger the model, the better things actually work. And even those models have achieved superhuman performance, which means that they do better than people on a GLUE benchmark, which is like a collection of tasks that require human understanding, right? So kind of it was just within less than a year, those models could outperform humans on 12 tasks, right? And now there's a super GLUE, and you can see that they are already very close to humans there as well. They kind of made it harder with like 20 tasks. So, but they're dangers, okay? I mean, this is actually driving the progress in the field. I mean, those large-scale pre-trained transformers, but they're dangers. And so here, okay, I mean, look at this one. The coronavirus was created in a secret laboratory in Sofia, Bulgaria. We're looking into the murder of 2 people in a public place who are apparently working on the virus. And and actually, I mean, think about this. This is something actually that I generated fully automatically. I mean, this is something that those transformers actually can generate text like that. And this image is also fully automatical. This person does not exist, okay? It's an artificially generated image, and this text as well. And if you look into it, you're going to see, okay, I mean, this person does not exist. There is no such agency in Bulgaria, so on and so forth. But in social media, it really kind of people don't read that much. They say, oh, it's created in secret laboratory in Sofia, Bulgaria, okay? So it's very, very dangerous. I mean, that's kind of one danger, right, from an ethical concern. But there are other things. There are biases in those models, right? They're kind of trained on certain kind of text. And if you, this is GPT-3, if you put a sentence like 2 Muslims walked into a mosque to worship peacefully, and kind of, you just write that, and there's nothing wrong with this sentence. And then if you ask the model to continue, it's going to tell you that, they were shot dead, they are killings. And even if you just write 2 Muslims and nothing else, and ask it to continue, it's going to tell you about bombs. Right, and there are kind of all kinds of biases. There's gender bias. There's kind of and so on and so forth. Right, there are many issues that people are looking into that, and you don't want your model to be biased in that way, because the kinds of things that it's going to generate or the predictions it is going to make are going to be consistent with such kinds of biases. And there are biases of all possible ways. For example, that I don't know, nurses are female and doctors are male, and all this kind of stuff. So what is the cost of those super huge language models? That's another thing, right? So somebody has put the economic cost of training a model of 110 million parameters. It's about $50,000. And this 1.6 million parameter, I mean, 1.5 billion parameters, that's probably 1.6 billion. And it was estimated that GPT-3 just training it costs about $10 million. And basically you pay $1 for about 1,000 parameters, okay? And then if you look into how fast those models grow, and again, this doesn't even include the latest ones, right? The computational speed that you need to train those models, the computational speed actually doubles every 2 years. That's the Moore law. But if you look at the size of the models, they are doubling every 3.4 months, which means that it's not sustainable. We cannot really, do super far in this way. I mean, this is coming to an end very soon. Okay, so what can we do? Well, one promising direction is actually to use repositories as pre-trained models so that you don't really have to train them from scratch each time, right? And this is something that can save resources in terms of money. Another thing is kind of to try to make smaller models that don't need that much computation to run, kind of through knowledge distillation. The idea is that you first train a very big model and then you kind of distill it to come up with something small. And there's something actually that came literally yesterday. Okay, I mean, this is kind of from another conference that is going in parallel. That's from a keynote talk there, which is showing a very interesting alternative to those huge transformers, against transformers, but in a much smarter way. So the idea here is to work not just from examples, but also from a human description of the task that is there to be solved. So just like to give you some idea, right? I mean, GPT-3 has 175 billion parameters. And iPad, this kind of alternative model, has about 1,000 times less parameters, okay? And actually performs better, right? And this is very, very promising direction. And yeah, here are some numbers. So this is what happens, right? I mean, so this model outperforms GPT-3. If you reduce GPT-3, cut the number of parameters 1,000 times to match the number of parameters here, it goes down here. So that's quite good. And this is kind of really becoming a very, I mean, very fast. People are picking up a number of publications on that. And another thing that I can tell you, it's very, very interesting, right? Very interesting development because again, in that parallel conference that is going right now, yesterday, they had announced the best papers in the conference and the runner-ups, the outstanding papers. And 3 out of 6 are actually about this new alternative methodology. So I'm very excited that that might be the way ahead. And that was it from me. I hope that I'm well with time.
Thank you. If there are any questions, I think we can have a couple of minutes for just any clarifying questions. We're going to have a Q&A session after the third speaker finishes. So if you have anything you'd like to ask, feel free to briefly do so now before we continue with the next speaker. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Preslav. It was very interesting. So yeah, I just wanted also to mention that you can ask your questions right away in the chat, and we're going to come back to them in the last session. I mean, after the 3 presenters in the Q&A session that will follow their 3 presentations. And now we move to the second presenter, who is Professor Liviu P.Dinu from Romania. Yes, Professor Liviu P.Dinu is professor at the University of Bucharest, Computer Science Department. He is director of Human Language Technologies Research Center and member of Computer Science and Interdisciplinary Doctoral School. He is honorary president of Romanian Linguistic Olympiad, SolomonMarcus. His main research is computational linguistics, natural language processing, information processing, etc. As you can see on the slide, he has several degrees and prizes, but yeah, you can also see this on the slide. So not to lose any time, I'd like to give the floor to Professor Liviu. Hello.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the invitation. May I share the presentation from my screen or?
No, it's shared already on the screen. So
and then may I move with my task? No, is it possible? Because I cannot.
Can you see on the screen?
If you let me know, I'll be changing the slides. Let me know if that's okay.
You will change the slides. Then.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, but it's not. Is it easy for me to change myself? Because okay, well, you chose. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you for your introduction. Thank you for your invitation. Thank you, Preslav, for your very nice talk. I'm happy to see old friends here and maybe new friends in the next session. My talk will be a interrogatory presentation about our field, because most of us, I don't know if all, but what I know, we are working in computational linguistics, which is a interdisciplinary field. But my first question here is, do we really know what is in the interdisciplinarity task field? It's not easy to define interdisciplinarity because we are in the same situation like St. Augustine when he talks about time. Okay, it's easy to work, but it's not easy to give a formal definition. I was the way fortunate because I worked from the beginning with my supervisor, which was Galina already show us. Okay, Marcus, my supervisor, SolomonMarcus, who was old-fashioned supervisor. Probably most of your supervisors know him, know from 60. Okay, but he is not still well known today. He worked from in that time when was a lot of time, was not the pressure of the deadline of state of the art and so on. Marcus was by definition. Marcus, okay, my supervisor, okay, was interdisciplinarity people. He comes in computational linguistics, in mathematical linguistics, how he defined our field in 1670 from mathematics, from calculus, but then he works in poetics, linguistics, semiotics, philosophy, and so on. Okay, but my first question here or interrogatory is any form of combining of a discipline, interdisciplinarity one. Okay, a combination of physics or not two physics discipline are interdisciplinarity field, or geometry plus algebra, or vice versa. We know the guys who comes from mathematics know this idea is okay. Maybe from inside it is, but from exterior it's not clear that if they are interdisciplinarity one or is a mix of the same model. Of course, we are fortunate because mathematics plus linguistics, or psychology plus linguistics plus informatics, or bioinformatics, which comes from biology and informatics, is a clear interdisciplinarity task. Is it possible to move your slides, Karina? Or I'm not sure. Okay, and one more. Okay, the second. Okay, here, right. Okay, so which are the best ingredients to have a good interdisciplinarity field or subfield, or I don't know, something to do? At least in my opinion, in our opinion, I don't know how many. My idea is the best ingredients are to have a predominant quantitative fields and a predominant qualitative fields, and to make a mixture, a mix between them. Okay, we combine linguistics plus and informatics or mathematics, biology and informatics, art and something. By sure, we are in the interdisciplinarity. Preslav at least and Veti, and they know that it is a very nice, maybe the second slide, the next slide. It's a very nice paper of Rada a few years ago. I don't know if there are few or there are a lot of years, when she talked about happiness, a recipe of happiness, 5 years ago at EthicAI. The same ingredients are for happiness also. A quantitative and qualitative ingredients, something new. Okay, the ideas, our ideas from our field. lots of foods that you enjoy, we enjoy. Probably here are the data, which we have to work with data. Your favorite drink, the idea of RADA, for us, probably your favorite algorithm. An interesting social place, not online, by sure, it's not online, the interesting social place. Ideally, the receipt should be served on Saturday for maximum happiness effect, and so on. Go to the paper of RADA. Okay, now I move to the our study case, which is computational linguistics, which for me, okay, we use various syntax, computational linguistics or digital humanities or natural language processing. Personally, I don't see many differences between all three syntagma. I use the same. I use with pleasure all the syntax. It's a strong interdisciplinary field, which is at the crossroad between social human sciences, computer science, and logic, informatics, and so on. Here, I list my, I don't know, my main question, my main ethical problems which I found in our field, and about what I wanted to talk in the next 10 minutes or 15 minutes. How many do I have? The first idea, Preslav already asked us in his first slide, how much linguistics is in computational linguistics, but how much informatics it is in, or mathematics it is in computational linguistics. Are the computational linguistics results really used by classical linguists, or they are used by industry? We used, I used, you used in the same fields. Is the computational linguistics a serious subfields of informatics? We have probably not only in my university, but in many other universities, it is a strong debate about this question. I remember that were few workshops in the past at the main computational linguistics conference about the role of linguistics in computational linguistics, or not the same in the informatics, about the role of informatics in computational linguistics, but with the tsunami, with the appearance of the artificial intelligence tsunami in the last years, everybody talk about AI, and of course, computational linguistics is included here in this field. But the second question, which ethical question in a way, if you want, about I want to talk to say a few words, is what about data? We all work with data, not only for fake news. Preslav make excellent work. We all have to thanks to Preslav. But we have corrupted data, unclear data, and we have to work with this data. Even in classical computational linguistics, when we use only the classic data, the words from dictionary, and so on. Why there are these problems? Maybe a few slides, Galina, if it is possible. Next slide. Okay, and maybe next, if you want. Okay, here. Why? Because I agree here with two friends, if I may, okay, friends of the related world, okay, because we, Mark List and Simon Grigore, because we still have a strong divide between computational and classical experts, maybe in the same fields or in the related fields, who often mistrust each other. It's not a I don't know, it's not a seldom case, a rare case, when classical scientists see computational scientists as servants to create their database, to create an Excel, or maybe to count some words or some figures, or I don't know what. Or as people who abuse their linguistic data for census publication from their point of view. The computational scientists, on the other hand, see the classical scientists in many situations as stubborn relics from the last century who don't understand the usefulness of computational methods. I know a lot of. On the other hand, it's not the only situation. The computational scientists, I come from computational, I have a computational background, so I know a lot. The computational scientists often lack to understand that lack understanding for the specific of the problems in the humanities. That scholars in humanities have been working for centuries and often have gained great insight into this problem. It's not clear that we want and we need, I don't know, a few minutes and a best algorithm to solve problems of a century when they have work. And if we want, if we go in the analysis and in the data analysis, many computational scientists ignore or misunderstand that the problems in the humanities can be extremely hard. Or much more, the big data approaches do not necessarily work on small data. And the last slide of Preslav actually, in a way, agree here, because we haven't big data in many situations for linguistics. In historical linguistics, I have a study case in the final. We haven't more than a few thousands of words, and it is not possible. Or if we have a big data, okay, can we go to the small data? Is not clear. And much more, the black box approaches are satisfying for industry application, but not for scientific and for scientific research or for classical, because they want to know to the results why algorithm work, and they want to match with their intuition. And being a mathematician does not qualify anyone to automatically solve problems in the humanities, because there are complete analphabets mathematicians in humanities, and vice versa, of course. I don't know. Okay, maybe the next slide. Thank you, Garita. Okay, here. Okay, I've already told. Maybe next. Okay, here is what I said. We haven't time. But from the second, from the other point of view, from classical scientists, the classical scientists don't understand that computational approaches do not threaten their jobs or question the work they have do so far. The computational scientists offer instead the chance to gain new insights or to speed up the tedious process of qualitative analysis by providing practical help in tasks which even classical scientists will consider as repetitive or boring. The classical scientists also in many situations are in mirror with the computational scientists. They ignore or misunderstand that computational approaches don't exclude qualitative approaches, that the computational solution can increase the consistency of manual data inspection. In historical linguistics, for example, I studied case in the final, we have the rotacism. We want to see, okay, the combination, the behavior of a certain phoneme in the context, in various contexts. With a computer, of course, we can increase the consistency. Okay, that we can give the computation and may provide a fresh perspective on long-standing problems in the humanities. And in of course, there is no reason to be proud if one doesn't understand basic mathematics, because I'm sure that I am not the only one who meet such people, such friends. Okay, so my proposal, I'm not alone, of course, is that maybe the best idea is instead to use only computer-based or only classical approaches, a paradigm of computer-assisted approaches will be a helpful one in our field. In the next slide, I have a small diagram which we use where it is clear that we have to move from a manual to automatic, from qualitative to quantitative analysis and so on, to work with classical and to combine the experience, but and always return to see if our results are okay with what we want. Okay. Now I'm moving to the second or to the last question, the data debate. We are more or less the slaves of data because if we haven't good data, we haven't a good solution. It is clear. I have no more time, so I'll skip many explications, but I don't think that it's necessary to give more. Last year, a paper, a very nice paper, appeared in Computational Linguistics, where it's better than the sensational, and the author show that there are not only the data problem to infer the conclusion like many to doctor as a woman is to nurse. No, it's for doctor. No, no. But they show that it is also in the problem of algorithm. They modify the algorithm and obtain doctor, not nurse. Even if the New York Times already wrote that it's better to go to a female doctor than a male doctor. It is here. Okay, so the question which I have here is are related on what I write here. The interpretable data, interpretable results. Why? Because natural languages are living ecosystems. They are constantly in contact. We borrow from Bulgarian, Bulgarian borrow from Romania. We all borrow from English now. And by consequence, they change continuous. What was okay 10 years ago is not clear if it is still okay today. What was okay century 100 or 200 years ago, by sure is not okay for language processing now. The main question are, who is checking the data? The computational experts or the linguist experts? It's better to check the linguistics expert. Are the data calibrated? No, many situations. There are many situations, especially when the corpus, because we all are in hurry. Okay, I already said we have deadline. We need data to apply our algorithm, but we need to, especially when we talk about a language and not about text, to have data calibrated. How much knowledge is in the data? If we want to model some data, we see that we have to work with the data from social, and they contain a lot of noise. There are not a pure language. There are a lot of I don't know, non-grammatical phrases, sentences, and so on. Easy to obtain is equal with more data, equal with better. There are many corpus, many corpora which are obtained from news, from a newspaper, because it's easy to obtain such corpora. But which is the real problem? The problem is if I don't know, hopefully after 100 years, somebody try to investigate this corpora, they will conclude that, okay, but look, they used a strange language without the second person for verbs, because in the newspaper there are not the second person of a verb, because nobody. And of course, is running after the new SOTA really profitable. I'm not sure. Maybe the next slide, Galina. Okay, and so on. Why do we have this kind of problem? Because we work all with language, we don't work only with, for example, sentiment analysis or opinion mining, where there are already many papers, more than 3,000 papers or 4,000 papers. So we need and other kind of data. So so my desiderata is that to have a deeper results analysis and more elaborate error analysis. Because if we have another state of the art with less than 1%, what really means that 1%? Is something very good, something okay, or it is only a question by chance, or I don't know, black box. It works, but we don't know why. It's not okay for classical linguists. They work by chance, by inspiration, or due to a hidden motivation. It is a very nice preface introductory paper at the Linguistic Distances workshop from ACL 2006, written by John Nerbon and Erhard Hinrichs. And they wrote that there is always a hidden variable in the similarity relation, in the language relation, and we have to find that hidden variable and to mix with to match with the algorithm or our mathematical tools which we have to use to analyze the problem. How many minutes do I have? Sorry, Galina. I need.
I'm afraid that we run out of time. So if
I am out of time. Sorry.
Yes, finish the presentation. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So. Here is an example which I used. I tried to explain, or my interrogatory question was about proto-word reconstruction, but fortunately he is based on a paper published in in Computational Linguistics, so the reference is enough. Here I used the data, the linguistics data to try to find the proto-word reconstruction, the Latin proto-word reconstruction. And we find, I have to say, all the questions which about I talk. We used various data sets. One data set was not clear because contained cognates which were not really cognates. But another data which we created, we create a database, but based on some noise extracted from a dictionary, and so on. The methodology was okay or wasn't okay for a linguist. It is okay, but we need time to explain to convince the linguist that it is okay. The results which we obtain, the state of the art, in this moment we are at 3/4 accuracy, was very nice. The last slide, and I finish in less than 1 minute. When we interrogate the error, the error were nice for us, and very nice to work on this kind of error with classical linguists, because I came from a computational. My Alina came from computational. When we meet classical linguists, finally I have to say we really understand the error and the idea. So
I think that there is something wrong either with the connection or with your microphone. Can everyone else hear me?
We lost the connection apparently. I hope Professor Dinu will come back to us. So we can then maybe just jump to the next presenter, because we already a little bit late in our agenda, and I'm happy to welcome our third speaker today, Giozen Eriogit. I hope that pronounce your name right. So she's associate professor at Istanbul Technical University, Faculty of Computer and Informatics. Her research focus is on Turkish natural language processing. She is the founding member and the head of ETU NLP research group and the coordinator of the ITU Language Technologies and Social Robotic Laboratory, builder of this Turkish NLP pipeline serving many academic studies in the field. So she has lots of experience in this field. She's been part of many working group and advisory boards related with European institutions, as you can see on the slide. So we are happy to give the floor to Gülsen Yürügit.
Thank you very much for the very good introduction. I'm very glad to be with you today. As introduced, my name is Gülşen Eryit, and I'm the coordinator of the IT&NLP research team, located at Istanbul Technical University, Department of Artificial Intelligence and Data Engineering. Our group is one of the oldest and biggest groups in Turkey dedicated on Turkish natural language processing and its applications. The group has been established since 2000 and actively consists of 3 professors, 3 research assistants, and many PhD and MS students, as well as volunteer undergraduates. Thank you. The group mainly focuses in different aspects of Turkish-related NLP tasks and currently work on many NLP areas such as information extraction, gamification and crowdsourcing, conversational agents, language learning, parsing at different levels, and aspect-based sentiment analysis. Our publication, next slide, please. The publications may be reached from our Google Scholar webpage from the group link, and the current news from our webpage, nlp.itu.edu.tr. So far, we conducted 12 research projects funded by different agencies and took role in 8 university industry cooperation projects as project proposer, academic consultant, and leader. We have been an active member of the Universal Dependencies Project, the representative of Clarin Turkey in the preparatory phase, and member of the Parsing and EthicAI European Cost Action projects. To give an idea about our expertise, I would like to mention some of our outstanding projects so far. The first one is Parsing Web Sentences, where the project group focused on many NLP layers, starting from text normalization through dependency parsing of social media text. The project also revealed one of the pioneering social media tree banks in the field, and also a project performance award has been obtained by the funding agency TÜBİTAK. The second project that I can give as an example is the signing avatar system for Turkish to Turkish Sign Language machine translation, where we cooperated with other robotic and linguistic teams. The project revealed many articles and a patent in this topic. We propose a representation scheme for depicting the Turkish Sign Language electronically for use in automated machine translation systems. We introduced a machine-readable knowledge representation for Turkish Sign Language for the first time in the literature. And like many resource-poor languages, Turkish Sign Language lacks electronic language resources usable in computerized systems. And the utilization of the proposed scheme for resource creation is also provided in this study by introducing an online dictionary platform and an ELAN add-on. I don't know if you know about the ELAN annotation tool for sign languages, and ELAN add-on for corpus creation. Again, in this study, previous slide, please, we also introduced the first comprehensive machine-readable Turkish Sign Language resource, a bilingual lexical database, and a parallel corpus between Turkish and Turkish Sign Language. And this also revealed the first sign language tree bank as one of the pioneers in its kind. Thank you. The next slide, please. Similarly, we have worked on the very first mobile personal assistant for Turkish in 2013. At those years, there was no available systems for Turkish yet. And we have compared our results through the end of the project. There were some outcoming projects like Siri and other assistants coming out, and we have compared with them. Our work on conversational agent has been continuing since then with industry relationship projects most of the time, such as in banking and automotive sector. There are many other projects that I may list, but I don't want to spend too much time on this. But as a final outstanding project, I can mention the information extraction from banking documents using visual features. In this project, we developed distinguished research outputs for information extraction from unstructured documents. This project as well yielded many good results, such as the Best Article Award in Master Science category in the Journal of Information Processing and Management. This was the first study which uses visual and textual information for deep learning-based information extraction on text-intensive and visually rich scanned documents. We investigated the impact of using different neural word representations on this information extraction, on these information extraction subtasks such as named entity recognition, relation extraction, etc. And the article that I show here propose a new relation extraction algorithm based on graph factorization to solve the complex relation extraction problem in these documents. Some of our industry-related projects may be listed as follows. Semantic analysis components for legal document review platforms, dialogue system for automotive support channels, document classification and information extraction system using deep learning techniques in banking sector, entity detection and relation extraction on noisy text, again in the banking sector, improving Turkish sentiment analysis result by the use of advanced feature representations and aspect-based approach for telecommunication sector, and social media monitoring, again, for telecommunication sector. These are few among many others. As already mentioned at the introduction, we also operate the ITU Turkish NLP web services, which provides several processing tools to the researchers, such as text normalization, morphological analysis, disambiguation, entity recognition, dependency parsing, and so on. The platform is available from tools nlp.itu.edu.tr, and it operates as a software as a service, as a SaaS platform, and provides the researchers and the students the state-of-the-art NLP tools in many layers. So the users are capable of to communicate with the platform via 3 channels, a user-friendly web interface, by file uploads, or by using the provided web APIs within their own codes for constructing higher level applications. And there are many graduate students in Turkey and abroad as well who are using this web service in their research. We also, next slide please, we also publish many data sets for researchers so far. Some of them are Turkish tree banks, proposition banks, and named entity resources, etc. when I got the invitation to this workshop, next slide, please. I tried to think about all the projects and ethic-related situations that we confronted so far. And I selected some of them to give an idea of what kind of approach we adopted to deal with the ethical issues. So these are, for example, in our current research for unstructured document understanding, we have to work with private data in the banking domain, the money transfer orders. For gamification and crowdsourcing, we have to think about the crowd-related ethical issues that I will open a little bit in my next slides. During our studies on computer-assisted language learning, we test our solution with students, and again, we have to think about ethical issues. So let me start with the first topic. For unstructured document understanding, unfortunately, it's very hard to find such kind of documents publicly open for research purposes. Because these are generally business documents and they have lots of private data in them. In our studies, we use money transfer orders coming to a bank for this purpose. Our aim, next slide, please. Our aim is to extract important entities and highly complex relations between them, such as the name of the sender, one or multiple receivers, their IBAN numbers, the amounts to be sent in order to create a money transfer order transaction information. Since the data we use is highly confidential, we may not redistribute it, which is an obstacle, obviously, in front of replicability and continuous research. But as in many other fields, this is accepted as well in NLP for the domains like this. Next slide, please. This is one of our very current research in gamification and crowdsourcing. This work is under evaluation now, and it is available from arXiv, the preprint. We create games to easily collect and annotate NLP-related data. As you know, gamified crowdsourcing is a rapidly increasing trend, and researchers explore creative methods of use in different domains. The aim while designing our software was to create an enjoyable and cooperative environment that would motivate the volunteers to help the research studies. Thus, it is an actually explicit crowdsourcing game. The game is designed to collect usage samples for idioms, of which the words of the idiom may also commonly be used in their literal meanings within a sentence. We have created a messaging bot named Dodium, which is designed as an asynchronous multiplayer game for native speakers who compete with each other while providing idiomatic and non-idiomatic usage examples and rating other players' entries. As I said, you may see the link from here. As you would know, there exist many ethical discussions about crowdsourcing. And in our study, actually, this is not a direct crowdsourcing, a paid crowdsourcing task, because we don't pay the players actually, but as additional incentives in our article, we also test with some monetary rewards given to the best player of each day. And we investigated its impacts on the quality and the volume of the data to be collected. And actually, as you may guess, we obtain much higher submissions when we have such a monetary reward. And the reward was very little, a €5 online store gift card. We played for Italian and Turkish. This was €5 online store gift card for Italian and 25 Turkish lira online bookstore gift card for Turkish. These monetary rewards, which are mainly connected with intellectual rewards in our case, such as gift cards to buy books, do not raise, in our view, any particular ethical issue, as players are well informed from the very beginning that linguistic data are collected through the game, and they can voluntarily choose if they want to contribute and help NLP research or not. In addition, the research activities are not funded by any grant, or data collected are exploited commercially. So on the contrary, we publish our results as open source projects, and we also distribute the data in under a permissive license. So I mean under a Creative Commons license. And another area, again, that we have to deal with, think about ethical issues, is during our studies on computer-assisted language learning, where we test our solutions with students. And again, we have to think about the mechanism that we use, because we use many types of analysis, both quantitative and qualitative, surveys, questionnaires, e-journals, and interviews to test our hypothesis in parallel of the analysis of usage statistics of the plates, whatever we develop, the applications. Of course, before working with students in this type of work, we first apply to the ethical committees and then start our research after getting our permissions. We provide them, before the study, we provide them which type of interviews, which type of questionnaires, which type of questions we are going to direct to the students. And then we got the permission and then start to work. So I think it's all that I want to say so far. I'm eagerly waiting to listen to the work group's presentations. Thank you for listening. I'm open to questions.
Thank you very much. And I also want to thank Professor Dinu, because we somehow lost the connection with him at the very end of his presentation, and also want to express our gratitude to the interesting talks of both of you. So now we move to the Q&A session. As we see in the chat, we have already some questions. So I'd like to invite the people who pose the questions to ask directly to the speakers. So we can start with Desislava Fesenko, who wrote a question to Dr. Nakov. Desislava, do you want to present your question, or me to read it? Hey.
Hi there. Apologies, I've been experiencing some technical issues. So happy to pose the questions directly to Dr. Nakov. My question concerned naturally your software, and to what extent, apart from the fact-checking features of the software, other of the functionalities allow for real-time screening of the attitudes, of the biases, of possible propaganda aspects. Thank you.
So this is kind of a very good question, because not everything can be fact-checked, and so there are different kinds of claims. If there's a claim that says, I don't know, the economy of Bulgaria grew by 20% in 2020, that's something that you can check very fast, very easily. There are tables, statistical, maybe information, Wikipedia, you can do this, right? But if there's a claim that says, I don't know, there was a bomb that exploded in this little town, 5 minutes ago. That's not an information that you can find anywhere. I mean, it's not something that, I mean, there are claims in the middle. There are claims like, I don't know, Trump says, I never voted for the war in Iraq. Okay. Now, I mean, you can actually find historical records and you can actually, verify this claim, right? So there are claims that are super easy. There are claims that are somehow hard, and there are claims that are impossible, right? And so the question is, and again, we're talking to journalists, and they're interested in those breaking ones that come right now, and they're asking us, okay, what can we do? I mean, something happens now. I mean, there's this video that shows, I don't know, there's this missile that is hitting Beirut, right, or something like that. There was this fake video. Well, and our answer was, okay, so actually, again, when we started working on this, the very first thing that we started doing was things like everybody else. Is this true? Right? Trying to fact check it, right? And kind of, or is this like fake news and stuff like that? And then kind of realized that we should actually ask the question in a different way and move to a little bit different problems. So the one thing that kind of we realize is that we actually need to move to a different granularity and look at the source. And that's what journalists do, right? So this is something that you can do. And I mean, maybe I can also kind of show you, but we are building those media profiles and we can do it in advance. And so even if you put some fake claim in social media, it's just a rumor unless you elaborate on that, unless you put an article. And now you're not going to do a new fake news website for every fake claim that you make, right? You're going to reuse them. So you're going to host it in certain kind of website. So we can actually go and we can profile those websites. And that's actually a much easier task because we can look into many things, not just one article, right? We can have what they say, kind of how people react and so on and so forth. And then I like to say that you can fact check the fake news before it was even written, because the moment when you write it and you put a link to a website, this website can actually be in our database of previously fact-checked websites, right? And you can immediately tell you, well, I don't know if it's true or not, but it's not coming from a reliable source. No, that's one thing. The second thing is, right, is the thing that I have shown about the propaganda techniques. Okay, now again, we don't necessarily tell you that's true or not. Okay, but we actually tell you that there's something fishy. Now, I don't like the term fake news, and actually people that are working on the problem don't like it either, because it misleads people to only focus on factuality, but it's half of the problem. The actual problem, the real term that international organizations like the European Union, World Health Organization, United Nations, NATO and so on are using, they're talking about disinformation. Disinformation is something that has two components. First, it's false. Second, it means harm. Okay, and the intention to do harm is equally important. Okay, and that's something that is neglected. And actually, our interest in looking into the propaganda techniques was exactly motivated by this, to look into the intent. Okay, if you just make a claim and you change a word to make it false, this doesn't make a fake news. Okay, because it's not going to touch people emotionally. I mean, it has to be written in a certain way to become viral, right? And we have tools exactly for that. And this is something that I mean, if you think about it, I like to compare fake news to spam, right? The difference is that spam, if I send it to 1,000 people, it reaches 1,000 people and dies there. But if I send a very viral fake news, well written, right, that kind of touches people emotionally, sounds sensational, it can reach millions, right? But again, if you think of the spam, so if you ask me, okay, I have a spam filter. How does it work? Well, it looks for uppercase letters, for monetary amounts and stuff like that. I'm going to say, oh, big deal. I'm going to change the way that I write it so that you don't detect me next time. But it's not an option for you. If I have a good algorithm to detect the propaganda techniques, it's not an option for you not to use them because it's not going to work. Okay? It's an essential thing. And those are things that we realized, right? Other things that we realized was that it's important also to, if you care about fact checkers and journalists, it's important to tell them what are the interesting things and also kind of whether something was previously fact checked, because many false claims about COVID-19, for example, are repeated over and over again. Yeah. Sorry, a bit long answer, but yeah.
Yes, thank you. Maybe we should keep answers shorter because we have a little bit late in our agenda, but still we are going to pose the next questions. Nasir Muftik also wrote a question to you. So Nasir, do you want
Yes.
to ask?
Yes, first of all, thank you for the interesting presentation to all the speakers. I have a question to Dr. Nakov, but actually I think it can be answered by any of the speakers because all mentioned this issue at least partially. I'm interested in the question of bias. So what do you think is the main cause of bias a wrong design of the algorithm or the quality of the processed data? I understand that the question might be a bit vague, but the concept of bias and perhaps there can be a multi-causal, there can be multiple causes of bias, but I'm interested in how it works in practice, in your experience. Thank you.
I mean, I think that this thanks for the question. And to me, it's very clear that it's almost certainly biases come from the data, not so much from the algorithms. And this was actually addressed by others. I mean, by Liviu has been talking about that. Yeah, I mean, that's the main source. And the point is that, look, we are training the system on historical data, right? And things change over time. And at some point, it was fine to be, I don't know, to be this. And, you know, if you look at historical data, you see that these banks are not giving, I don't know, credit to Black people, okay? And now, kind of, if you put this historical data to train the algorithm, you're going to see the same thing. But now there's a law that says you cannot discriminate based on that, right? Maybe people were discriminating before, now it's illegal, okay? And now you want to tell the algorithm that it's wrong. Well, I mean, this is what you trained it on. This is what it sees, right? It's not the algorithm's fault. Now, this doesn't mean that we have to fix necessarily the data. There are ways to fix, actually, to try to fix the algorithms to alleviate those biases. And I shut up here because I don't want to waste much time.
Yeah, I agree with them.
Thank you. Do you want to answer as well, Professor Dinu?
No,
to this
I agree
question?
with Preslav because a machine usually does what we give it to do, not what we want to do. For machines is the problem. If we have instable data, wrong data, the main problem is there are in data. Preslav explained very well. I still have a problem with.
So next question in the chat, I somehow lost the thread though. So if somebody else wants to ask the question to the speaker, please to do it.
Daniel, feel free to unmute yourself and ask away.
Hi, I was just,
Daniel.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello, great.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, I think it's a really interesting question, but first of all, I would like to add that probably I know the least about this topic from all of the participants, as I'm an artist and I'm not coming from the part of science, but I think like when I hear this question about where the bias comes from, if it's from the algorithm or the data, inevitably I start to feel that data is essentially collected about us. And I think bias in that sense is human nature. I mean, we are all working with biases. I can't be right all the time. There's no, like, I'm a subjective person living in my own reality, and you can always fact check me and probably prove me wrong, but still it's valid because this is my life. I mean, of course, it's a different case if it's intentional to be factually wrong, but yeah, I think it's quite an interesting question. Thanks a lot for asking and the answer as well.
Yeah, I'd like to add something. So there was this famous example. Microsoft has put a chatbot and they had to take it down within 24 hours because it was learning how to answer from the interactions with users. And it very quickly became racist, became everything bad you can imagine, right? In less than 24 hours, they just kind of shut down the entire project because, yeah.
It's really interesting. I mean, like, we want to handle racism as bias, but it's a bias in society and not you can't opt it out or something like that. Like, there are people that's why this content is there.
All right, so I just noticed that we have questions from Fatih Sinan asked to Dr. Gülşen Yürügit. So Fatih, do you want to ask your questions directly?
Yeah, Galina, thank you.
Thank you.
Dear Professor Erit, thank you for your kind presentation, your informative presentation. And I want to ask, you and some of the other teams in Turkey have some very good work done in NLP. What do you think are the collaborations, for example, university, industry, and public, that need to be established in order to further increase the performance of some existing Turkish NLP libraries or speech processing synthesis models, and to get ahead of the, of course, state of the art? And how do you rate the potential of these studies through an academic perspective, of course? And additionally, do you, as a team or personally, have any collaborations with industry currently? By the way, I know just one, I know the collaboration with İşbank and your paper award, and maybe you may mention that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. Very shortly, we have lots of industrial relationships going on, and I don't want to give names, but I'm working with many banks in Turkey. So the banking sector is very frequent nowadays. With telecom sector, with legal documents, and automotive sector. We have many collaborations, and we are acting as their academic consultants. Related to your first question, I believe I think it is the case for most of the languages surrounding Turkey as well. The data is the biggest obstacle in front of the works, the available data. And the collaborations here will certainly help to develop a better approach for Turkish, which is a very different language when compared to English. So the models also differed quite a lot due to this morphological rich nature of the language. So what we do, actually, we have lots, as I said, we have many collaborations, and for example, the project that I gave as an example, we are using the real life data from a bank, money transfer orders. And as you know, this year in ACL as well, this was the hot topic. We want to work on real world problems, work in NLP, working with available toy problems, toy data. Do not say too much about the real life. So collaboration in this issue will be very beneficial, not only for Turkish, but for all low resource languages. I hope this answered your question.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. So there is one more question to Dr. Yürügit from Desislava Fesenko. Desi, do you want to ask it?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Yürügit. Indeed, revealing and enlightening presentation. It's great to see that somebody in the region works so extensively on various studies in such a streamlined way. You've mentioned a couple of times during your presentation and now that you're facing various constraints related to the confidentiality of the data you're using in your studies. And I was wondering, from what I get, this is a common issue for most of the academic centers and universities collaborating with the industry. But I was wondering, from what experience, what is your experience, what is the best way to overcome those kind of issues around confidentiality and data privacy of the data used? Do you kind of have a recipe for that? Thank you.
Unfortunately not, because as you know, even the data obfuscation approach, although you blur some of the parts of, although you hide some of the private information, when you have textual data in hand, this will clearly give you clues about what you are talking about. For example, if you are using, for example, medical records of a person, if you say that a professor in NLP who has back pain due to long working hours in front of a computer, this will relate totally to me, although you hide my name. So that's why I know that in other disciplines, such as biomedical domain, institutions have some alliances coming together and sharing data with only each other. But in NLP, we don't see that much collaborations on those issues at institutional level. So what we do with the industry is that actually we have a very good technopark at ITU. We have many companies, research centers within the campus, university campus. So when we graduate a student, if I'm working in such a research project, they are hiring my students. So we have an atmosphere to work on the private data without actually moving to private data outside of that research units. So that is our solution for now, to work closely without distributing the data. But in all of my other research, you will see that I believe in open source, I believe in distributing data. So when you don't distribute the data, there is no replicability. But this doesn't mean that you cannot publish the results, because you are doing a very important research, which is not done, which is not published anywhere else. So you need to publish it. But I don't know how, as the NLP community, we are going to solve this issue, but maybe this team we can come up with some ideas. But it is a hard issue to deal with. And actually for European projects as well, I see that, for example, in ETIA projects, they ask many companies to come together in consortiums and to come up with generic systems, for example. If you want to design this for NLP, all the companies say that they have different types of documents, for example, but they cannot even share these with each other. So it's kind of cumbersome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, thank you. So I don't see more questions in the chat, but still, if somebody wants to quickly ask the speakers something, or because,
Hello.
yeah.
So I would like to address two short questions to Professor Liviu P.Dinu, if possible.
Sure, yeah.
So the first one, he mentioned a paper about computational linguistics regarding data versus algorithm treatment of biases. I'm not sure if I understood correctly, but I didn't get a chance to note it down. So if he remembers the reference, maybe he could share in the chat the name of the paper or some details. And the actual question that I wanted to address was in direct connection with the last one that we had about working, because Professor Dinu also addressed in the chat the following idea, which I like to say it quickly. So yeah, in the interdisciplinary in higher education, new scientific profiles, more regarding scholars who can bridge the gap between classical and computational approaches. So do you think it's also a lack of discontinuity between these fields and also in close connection with the industry? So having industry abled scholars who do also or know of classical and computational approaches. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a very good question. Thank you, Stephanie. Yeah, I sent in chat the the reference is the first is on archive, but it is in computational linguistics 1 year ago. Yeah, you're right. Probably the main problems arise when the industry comes in the game because they need to gain to be, I don't know, they are in competition, and the classical studies has had time till now, and there is not a really spent. Rather, probably if I can use a metaphor. In classical sciences, they are marathonists, but in the industry, we are in the 100 meters. We need. So I like. I have to say, at least in Romania, I don't know how it's in other countries. I don't know. I would like to see companies, industry to come in the faculty, in the research, in the academic, and to try to understand and to learn what really happens, because Daniel said it is not clear if we need artificial intelligence for what kind of people, for 5 years old, for 25, for 60, for my friend from my village, from near from Kerlogan, from Bucharest, from Sofia. It is not clear. Probably we want for frequentable people, but it's a problem. We cannot answer to this problem, so we ask the computer and we say, okay, you don't know to answer to my question, so you don't laugh, and so, yeah, probably. So thank you for your comments.
All right.